The crash that changed everything. The sky was dark. No stars. No moon. Just black clouds and fire. Jack opened his eyes slowly. Everything hurt. His head was bleeding, and his hands were shaking. Metal pieces from his ship were scattered around him. Smoke rose into the sky, thick and heavy. He tried to move, but pain shot through his side. "Where am I?" he whispered. His ship was gone. Only broken parts were left. He had crash-landed on an unknown planet. The last thing he remembered was a red light blinking on the control panel. Then everything went black. Now he was lying in the middle of a strange jungle. The air was warm. The trees were tall, with silver leaves and glowing vines. He could hear soft growls in the distance. It didn't sound like any animal he knew. Jack stood up slowly, holding his side. Every step was painful, but he needed to move. Staying near the crash site was dangerous. Smoke would attract attention. He found a broken metal rod and used it as a walking stick. As he moved deeper into the jungle, he felt like someone was watching him. He turned around quickly. Nothing. Then he heard it again. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Slow. Careful. "Who's there?" Jack asked, but no one answered. Suddenly, from the trees, a large shadow jumped down and landed in front of him. Jack froze. The figure was tall, at least 7 feet. Her skin was a deep shade of violet, and her eyes glowed gold. She wore a crown made of bones and crystals. Her hair was long and dark, braided with feathers and metal pieces. She looked powerful, dangerous, like a queen from a nightmare. But then she did something Jack didn't expect. She knelt. Her voice was deep but gentle. "You have returned to me." Jack stepped back. "What? Who are you?" The tall woman looked up at him, her golden eyes shining. "You do not remember, but I remember everything." "You must be mistaken," Jack said. "I'm not who you think I am." She smiled softly. "You are my husband, my king. You died, but now you are here again. Reborn." Jack's heart pounded. This had to be a mistake. Maybe she thought he was someone else. Before he could say more, 10 armed guards appeared from the trees. They surrounded him quickly, holding long spears made of strange black metal. Their faces were hidden behind masks, but their bodies were covered in armor made from beast skin. One of them spoke in a deep, harsh voice. "Is it truly him, my queen?" The queen nodded. "Yes." The stars sent him back. Jack raised his hands. Wait. I don't know what's going on. I crashed here by accident. I'm just trying to survive." The guards didn't move. They looked at the queen, waiting for her orders. "Bring him to the palace," she said. "He is weak. We will heal him. And then, the bonding must begin." "Bonding?" Jack asked, confused and afraid. The queen turned to him. "You will understand soon, my king." Before Jack could argue, one of the guards stepped closer and whispered in his ear, "If you are not him, she will find out. And when she does, she will kill you." Jack froze. The jungle seemed quieter now. The wind had stopped. Only his heartbeat echoed in his ears. He had a choice: fight and die, or play along and live. Jack looked at the queen again. Her eyes were filled with something strange. Not just power, not just danger, but pain, deep old pain. He nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll go with you." The queen smiled. "Welcome home," she said. The guards stepped back and formed a circle around Jack and the queen. They began to walk. Jack followed, unsure of his future, unsure of who they thought he was. But one thing was clear. This crash was no accident. Something, or someone, had brought him here. And his life was about to change forever. The ritual of recognition. The palace wasn't made of stone or metal. It was alive. Jack could feel it breathing beneath his feet as the guards led him through long glowing tunnels. Vines crawled across the ceiling like veins, pulsing with soft blue light. Strange shapes moved in the shadows, watching him silently. The queen walked beside him like a ghost. Tall, calm, unreadable. She had not spoken since the jungle. Her golden eyes stayed ahead, but the weight of her presence pressed against Jack's chest like armor he didn't ask to wear. He whispered to the guard beside him, "Where are we going?" The guard didn't answer. He just gripped his spear tighter. They entered a great chamber. The floor was black crystal, the walls covered in shifting murals that seemed to move when he blinked. Faces appeared, then vanished. Wars, kisses, betrayal. In the center of the room stood a round stone altar surrounded by a ring of violet fire. The air smelled like sweet smoke and old sorrow. The queen finally spoke. Her voice echoed like it came from the past. "This is where we were joined. This is where you must remember." Jack shook his head. "I told you. I'm not your king." The queen turned slowly toward him. "You are." A deep voice rose from the shadows. "Let the ritual begin." Out of the dark stepped 12 robed figures. Their faces were hidden behind silver masks shaped like wolves, owls, serpents. They began to chant in a language Jack didn't understand, but it made his skin crawl. A high priestess walked forward, carrying a glowing dagger and a bowl made of bone. "Step forward," she commanded. Jack hesitated. One of the guards nudged him hard. The queen raised her hand. "He will step when he is ready." The chanting stopped. Jack looked at the queen. "What is this ritual?" "The recognition," she said. "Your soul will be tested. If it matches the soul of the king, the fire will accept you. If it doesn't—" She didn't finish. "What happens if it doesn't?" Jack asked. The queen looked away. "You burn." Jack froze. This wasn't a game. This wasn't some tribal welcome dance. It was a test of life or death. The priestess dipped the blade into the fire. The violet flames didn't burn the metal. Instead, they wrapped around it like silk. "Do you accept the ritual?" she asked. Jack's breath shook. Every part of his mind screamed no. But somewhere, deep in his chest, something else whispered yes. I don't know," he said. The queen stepped closer, her voice soft. "You carry the shape of the man I loved. But more than that, I feel him in you. His courage, his doubt, even his fear. The fire will see the truth." Jack looked at the flame, then at her, then back at the flame. He stepped forward. The priestess took his hand and sliced his palm gently with the dagger. Red blood dripped into the bowl. The fire flared up, turning gold for a moment. The robed figures began chanting again. Suddenly, Jack felt a sharp pain in his head, like a knife behind his eyes. His knees buckled. Visions poured into his mind. A battlefield. Bodies everywhere. A sword in his hand. A queen crying, holding his dying body. A whisper, "Come back to me." Jack screamed and fell to the ground. The chanting stopped. The fire went silent. Then it turned bright white. The priestess gasped, "He is the one." The queen dropped to her knees, her eyes full of tears. "You returned. You kept your promise." Jack blinked. The visions were gone. But something had changed. He felt different, stronger, sadder. He stood slowly. The queen reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. "What did you see?" she asked. "Memories," he said. "But they're not mine." "They are now," she whispered. The guards bowed low. The priestess raised the bowl high. "The fire has spoken. The king has returned." But in the far corner of the chamber, a shadow moved where no one else saw. A figure watched them from behind the wall. His voice was a whisper lost in the wind. "If he's back, the war will begin again." Whispers in the shadows. The palace was quiet, too quiet. Jack walked through the glowing halls with 2 guards behind him. After the ritual, he was no longer a prisoner. Now he was their king. But it didn't feel like power. It felt like pressure. Every eye followed him. Every whisper stopped when he passed. He wasn't sure if they truly believed he was the Beast Queen's lost husband, or if they were just too afraid to question her. "You're watching me," Jack said to the guard on his right. The guard didn't answer. Jack sighed and kept walking. They passed a garden of black flowers that moved on their own. Jack paused. Something about the place felt wrong. He turned to look closer. Behind the tall vines, someone was watching him. A girl. Young, thin, with sharp eyes and quiet steps. She looked like a servant. Her hands were covered in purple dust from the garden. "What's your name?" Jack asked. She didn't reply. The guard stepped forward, but Jack held up his hand. "It's fine." The girl finally spoke. "You shouldn't trust her." Jack's heart skipped. "Who?" "The Queen," she said. "You think she loves you, but she only loves what you used to be." Jack frowned. "How do you know me?" She stepped closer, voice low. "Because I saw you die, and now you walk again. That's not normal. Something is wrong." Before Jack could ask more, she vanished into the vines like smoke. The guards didn't react. "Did you see her?" Jack asked. "See who?" One guard replied. Jack clenched his jaw. "Never mind." That night, the palace held a celebration. Glowing beasts were released into the sky like lanterns. Drums echoed through the halls. Dancers in golden masks twirled around fire pits. The Queen sat beside Jack on the high throne. Her long fingers gently touched his arm. "They missed you," she said, "even if they do not say it." Jack looked at the crowd. Did they miss me? Or the idea of me? The Queen smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You were more than a king. You were a symbol. Hope. Strength." Jack leaned in. "And now? Now, you are mine again." Before Jack could reply, a loud scream echoed across the hall. One of the dancers had collapsed. Her mask fell off, revealing her face. Blue, foaming at the mouth. Her skin blistered like it was burning from inside. The guards rushed in. Chaos broke out. Someone shouted, "Poison." The Queen stood, furious. Who did this? Jack's eyes searched the crowd. Somewhere, through the smoke and fear, he saw a shadow moving. Not running, walking, calm and steady, toward the royal platform. Jack stood up. "Guard." But it was too late. The shadow leaped onto the platform, pulled out a thin silver blade, and aimed straight for the Queen. Jack tackled her down. The blade cut across his shoulder. Guards swarmed in and grabbed the attacker, a beast soldier in black armor with a red mark on his neck. "A traitor," someone shouted. Jack clutched his wound. Blood ran down his arm. The Queen looked at him in shock. "You protected me." "Of course I did," Jack said through pain. "Even if I'm not your king, I'm not going to let you die." The Queen's eyes filled with something he hadn't seen before. Real emotion. Later, as healers cleaned Jack's wound, he sat alone in the royal chamber. The Queen had gone silent. Guards doubled around every door. Then, in the dark corner of the room, a voice spoke. "You saved her life." Jack looked up. It was the servant girl from before. "How did you get in here?" he asked. Same way the assassin did. She walked toward him and handed him a small crystal. "What is this?" "A memory shard," she said. "It's from the past. Your past. The real kings. Watch it, but not here. They listen in the walls." Jack took it carefully. "Why are you helping me?" She hesitated, then said, "Because I don't want to see you die. Again." And just like before, she vanished without sound. Jack held the crystal in his hand, his blood still dripping, his mind spinning. The Queen was hiding something. The girl knew too much. Someone inside the palace wanted the Queen dead. And worst of all, the memories he thought were fake might actually be real. He looked up at the ceiling, at the glowing vines that watched him like eyes. For the first time, Jack wondered, what if he was the king? But if that was true, who killed him the first time? Memories that don't belong to me. Jack waited until the palace slept. He sat in the corner of his chamber, far from the glowing vines and the whispering walls. He held the crystal the servant girl gave him. It pulsed faintly, like a tiny heartbeat. He had stared at it for hours. Was this really a memory? His, or someone else's? He looked around one more time. Then he placed the crystal on his forehead. A sharp flash of white light hit his eyes. The world around him vanished. He was standing in a battlefield. The sky burned red. Bodies of beast warriors lay everywhere. He was holding a heavy sword. Blood dripped from the edge. In front of him stood the queen. But she was younger, not dressed in royal gold. She wore black armor, her face twisted in grief. She ran to him, fell into his arms. "Don't die," she cried. "You promised." He smiled weakly. "You will be strong, with or without me." "No, not again." He touched her cheek. "The war is not over, but you must finish it." Then she did something terrible. She took a blade and pushed it into his chest, slowly, crying as she did. "Forgive me," she whispered. "I won't let you suffer." His vision went black. Jack gasped and ripped the crystal off his head. His chest ached like it had just been stabbed again. He fell forward, shaking. "What the hell was that?" he whispered. That memory, it felt real. Not like watching someone else's life. It felt like his. He stood up and looked in the mirror. Same face, same eyes. But something had changed. He remembered her touch, her voice, her pain. His hand shook as he whispered, "Was I really him?" A knock came at the door. He jumped. A royal guard entered and bowed. "The queen wishes to see you." Jack hid the crystal under his blanket and followed the guard. The queen waited in a private garden under the moonlight. Soft blue light shined on her dark skin. Her crown was gone. Her eyes looked tired. "You're not sleeping," she said softly. "Neither are you," Jack replied. She turned to him. "I dreamed of you, the real you, before you died." Jack stayed silent. "You always wanted peace," she said, "but they pushed you to war. Now they ask me to fight again." "And what do you want?" he asked. She looked at him. "I want you, not as a king, not as a warrior, but just you." Jack swallowed hard. "What if I'm not him?" She stepped closer. "You are." Her hand touched his face. And for a moment, he felt it again. That strange pull, like their hearts were tied together by something deeper than time. But then, an arrow flew past his face and struck the wall behind him. Guards screamed. The queen grabbed Jack's arm. Assassins. They ran into the trees as 3 black figures attacked from the rooftops. Jack ducked behind a stone statue and pulled the queen with him. "Who are they?" he asked. "They wear the mark of the dark circle," she said. "Old enemies of the throne. I thought they were gone." "They're not," Jack said. "They're in the palace." The queen's eyes widened. "You're sure?" "One of them was a guard, the one who tried to kill you yesterday." The queen stood slowly, her anger rising. "They want me dead. They want to break the bond." "Why?" Jack asked. She hesitated. "Because the bond gives power." "What kind of power?" She looked away. "Eternal life. Through love. Through memory. If you truly are my king, and we bond again, they lose control." Jack's head spun. Memory. Power. Betrayal. And now, immortality. What happens if we bond? And I'm not him? Jack asked. She turned to him, voice cold. Then your soul shatters, and you disappear forever. That night, Jack returned to his chamber, his mind burning. He locked the door, took out the crystal again. He needed answers. Now, he placed it on his head. A second vision. He was in a dark room, surrounded by beast generals. "They won't follow her," One of them said, "She's too emotional." "She's strong," Jack replied. "She will lead after me." "Then she must kill you," the general said. "Only then will they fear her." Jack slammed his hand on the table. "I will not die for fear." The general smiled. "Then you die for love." Jack ripped the crystal away, falling backward in horror. They planned it. His death. The queen loved him, yes, but she also used him. So that she could rise. So that they would fear her. And now, she wanted to bond again. Jack stared at the door, cold sweat on his neck. Was she telling the truth now? Or just playing the same game? As the vines on the ceiling moved quietly, one whispered like a voice in his ear. "You were reborn for revenge. The queen's true enemy." The next morning, Jack stood on the high balcony of the palace, looking over the jungle. The sky was gray. The trees below swayed with cold wind. Birds didn't sing. Something in the air felt wrong. Behind him, the queen's court prepared for a meeting of generals. War drums echoed in the distance. Troops were gathering. Jack knew what this meant. She was preparing for battle. But the real war wasn't outside. It was inside, deep in the walls of the palace, hidden in shadows. And he was standing in the middle of it. "You asked to see me," said a voice. It was the queen. She wore black armor today, not her usual gold. Her face looked strong, but her eyes were tired. Jack nodded. "I found something. Memories. From before. From him." The queen's jaw tightened, and, "You killed him," Jack said, "because they told you to." The wind went still. "I didn't want to," she whispered. "But you did." Her eyes watered, but she didn't look away. "He begged me to," she said. "He was dying. His body was infected with war dust. There was no cure. The general said he must die in glory. So I gave him that." Jack stared at her. "And now, what am I to you? Another tool? Another weapon?" She stepped closer, voice low. "No, you are not him. But you carry him inside you, and I love that piece of you." He didn't answer. Because deep down, he didn't know if he hated her or still loved her. That night, Jack met the servant girl again, the one who gave him the crystal. They stood in a hidden room beneath the palace, where the old king used to keep secrets. "You were right," Jack said. "They planned his death." "I know," she whispered, "but that's not all." She placed a scroll in his hand. It was old, covered in strange writing. "What's this?" he asked. "Orders, from the High General, signed before the king died. A full plan to poison him, to make him weak, to force the queen's hand." "They made her do it," Jack whispered. The girl nodded. "And now, they're trying again. But this time, they want you dead before the bond is complete." "Why?" "Because if you and the queen bond again, you'll unlock the final gate." "What gate?" The girl stepped back. "The memory gate. It's a living force. It holds the truth of every ruler in this world. If you unlock it, the lies end. The people see what really happened." Jack's heart raced. "They want to keep the truth buried." "Yes, and they'll kill to protect it." Suddenly, a blade flew through the air and missed Jack's head by inches. A hooded assassin jumped from the ceiling, dagger raised. Jack rolled, grabbed a metal rod from the wall, and blocked the next strike. The servant girl screamed and ran behind a pillar. Jack fought hard. The assassin moved fast, silent, like a shadow. Jack landed a hit. The hood fell off. He froze. It was the High General, the same man from the visions. "You," Jack said, breathless. The general growled. "You should have stayed dead." He charged again. But this time, Jack didn't hesitate. He struck the general in the chest and knocked him to the ground. The man gasped for breath. "Why?" Jack asked. "Why kill your own king?" The general coughed blood. "Because kings dream too much, and dreams ruin empires." His body went still. Dead. The servant girl stepped out, shaking. It was always him, not the queen. He pulled the strings. Jack looked down at the lifeless body. For the first time, he felt something sharp in his chest. Not pain. Clarity. Hours later, Jack stood in front of the queen again. This time, he held the scroll. He dropped it at her feet. He was the traitor, Jack said. Not you. The queen picked it up slowly, read it, and closed her eyes. I always feared it, she said, but never wanted to believe. He's dead now, Jack said, but the truth isn't. The queen looked at him. What do you want to do? Jack stepped forward. Unlock the memory gate. Her eyes widened. That gate could tear you apart. Even if you are him, the past might not accept you. Jack's voice didn't shake. Then let it try. That night, under the red moon, the queen and Jack stood at the edge of the forbidden mountain. An ancient door carved into black stone waited in silence. On the door, words were written in the old tongue. To open is to remember it is to suffer. The queen turned to him. Once we step through, we don't come back the same. Jack nodded. Maybe that's the point. She reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. Together, they stepped into the dark, to love a monster. The gate closed behind them with a deep rumble. Jack and the Beast Queen stood in a narrow tunnel carved from black stone. The walls glowed faintly with runes that pulsed like veins. The air was cold. Still, even the queen looked nervous now. This place remembers everything, she said. Jack swallowed hard. What does that mean? It means, she whispered, it remembers you too. They walked in silence until they reached a large round chamber. In the center stood a strange pool, glowing with silver light. Around it, statues of former kings and queens stood frozen, their faces twisted in sorrow and rage. The queen stepped forward. This is the memory well. To drink from it is to see what the world tried to forget. Jack stared into the pool. His reflection shifted. Sometimes it was him. Sometimes it was the king he used to be. He knelt beside it. What happens after I see? You choose, the queen said. Accept it or destroy it. And if I can't? She didn't answer. Jack reached down and cupped the glowing water in his hands. He drank. The world shattered around him. He stood in golden armor, his feet on a tower soaked in blood. Fires raged below. Beast soldiers dragged prisoners across the stone floor. Screams filled the air. The old Jack, the king, watched without emotion. Burn the village, he ordered. They resisted. But my king, a general said, there are children. No mercy, the king said. Fear is the only law. Jack's heart twisted. This was him. This monster. He watched the memory as the king raised his sword and struck down a crying mother begging for her child. He screamed. Stop. But it was just a memory. Unbreakable. Unforgiving. When the vision ended, Jack collapsed beside the pool, gasping. Tears ran down his face. I was a monster, he whispered. The queen stood near, her face unreadable. You ruled with fear, she said. You brought order. Peace came after blood. Jack looked at her with pain. And you loved that man. I loved the soul buried under the armor, she said. The part that whispered kindness in the dark. The part you're showing me now. Jack shook his head. Maybe I don't deserve to live again. Maybe, the queen replied softly. But you are alive. And now you get to choose what kind of king you'll be. A sound echoed through the chamber. Loud. Sharp. Wrong. Jack stood quickly. What was that? The queen raised her head. Someone followed us. A crack appeared in the far wall. A figure stepped out, wearing the robes of the High Council, face hidden by a golden mask. The council forbade this place to be opened, the figure said. You broke the law. The queen stood tall. The truth is not a crime. The figure raised his hand. and dozens of shadow guards poured in behind him. "Then die with your truth," he said. Jack grabbed a torch from the wall. "Run." "No," said the queen, drawing a blade made of crystal. "We fight." The chamber turned into chaos. Jack swung the torch at one attacker, then picked up a fallen blade. His body moved like it remembered how to kill. Each movement sharp, deadly. Old instincts returned. The queen fought like fury itself. Fast, powerful, a blur of teeth and fire. But there were too many. Jack saw the queen fall to one knee, blood on her face. He screamed and ran to her, covering her with his body. The shadow leader walked forward. "One last chance. Surrender, or we burn the palace and everyone in it." Jack stood slowly, his hands raised. "I'll come with you. Let her go." "Jack." The queen tried to stop him. He turned to her. "I won't let you die again." He walked toward the enemy. But as he passed the memory pool, it pulsed again. A voice echoed in his head. "You were feared. Now beloved. The past is not your prison." Jack stopped, turned around. The queen was weeping, blood on her hands. Jack raised his arm, and the memory gate behind him exploded with light. The chamber shook. Memories poured out like mist, truths, visions, whispers of every secret the palace ever hid. The shadow guards fell to their knees, screaming. The golden-masked leader tried to run, but Jack tackled him to the ground. The mask fell off. Under it was a face Jack recognized. His old general. The one who ordered the death. "You," Jack growled. The general laughed, even bleeding. "You'll never be more than a ghost." Jack held the blade to his neck. Then fear the ghost. He turned away and left him alive. Because this time, Jack would not be a killer. The queen rose, limping, and reached for his hand. "You saved me again," she said. "You saved me first," he replied. She looked at him long and deep. "Will you bond with me again?" she asked. "Not for the throne, not for power, but for love." Jack didn't answer with words. He stepped forward, touched her heart, and the memory gate sealed behind them, quiet and at peace. Crowned again, the gates of the mountain closed behind them. Jack and the queen stood together in silence. He was not the same man who had fallen from the sky. The beast queen was not the same ruler who once led through fear. Now, they were bound by truth, by fire, by memory. And war was waiting for them beyond the trees. When they returned to the palace, the air was heavy. Soldiers stood in rows. Banners of the beast kingdom waved in the wind. Drums beat like thunder. The traitors were gone, but their poison had spread. Many didn't believe the truth. Some feared it. Some still followed the counsel. "They will not kneel," one of the generals said. "They think he is just a ghost in a new shell." Jack looked at the queen. "Then we show them who I am." The queen called for the great gathering. Thousands arrived. Warriors, nobles, servants, even enemies. The palace square burned with firelight. Above the altar stood 2 thrones, one gold, one black. Jack stepped forward. No armor, no crown. Just him. The queen stood beside him. The crowd was silent. Jack raised his voice. "I am not the man you remember. I am not the king who ruled with fear. I am not his sword. I am not his shadow." He paused, looked at the sky. "But I carry his memories, his pain, his love. I carry the truth." Some looked away. Some whispered. "I do not ask for your loyalty," Jack said. "I ask for your strength, not for me. For her, for the queen who has fought for you, bled for you, who killed the man she loved to save your future." The queen's eyes filled with tears, but she stood tall. Jack stepped back. "So if you will follow anyone, follow her." And he dropped to one knee before her. The entire palace went quiet. Then, one by one, warriors fell to their knees. Then the nobles. Then even the guards. Until the whole square bowed. Not to Jack. To the Queen. And in doing so, to him. That night, the skies turned gold. The bonding flame lit once more. But this time, it was not about war. Not about power. It was about healing. The Queen placed the ancient crown on Jack's head. He placed his hand over her heart. And together, they stepped into the light of the old throne, reborn not as ruler and consort, but as equals. The years that followed were not easy. There were more battles, more trials. But Jack was no longer haunted by what he used to be. He had chosen who he would become. The people loved him not for his past, but for his present. They called him the Second Flame, a king who died in fire and returned in light. But sometimes, late at night, Jack walked alone through the jungle. He would sit beneath the starless sky and whisper, "I was feared. Now I am free." And far beyond the trees, deep in space, a new threat began to rise. But the stars whispered a warning. The Beast Queen and her human king stand ready. And this time, they won't fall.